Yes, hello, I'm not dead. Welcome to the first episode of All Things Astroneer. In this episode, we'll be talking about oxygen sources. First off, I need to tell you how this series works. So basically, in this series, I explain all things Astroneer, going from resources to power sources to even Astroneer customization. This series will be going on over a very long amount of time. This is only the first episode, and today we'll be talking about oxygen. The first episode of the series of All Things Astroneer is about oxygen. Right here, you can see all sources of oxygen, going from the portable oxygenator to Stilgar to the regular oxygenator to tethers to the oxygen tank and even the oxygen filter. Also, I'm going to tell you how Stilgar works in a little bit. Let's start off with the very first one you get, the oxygenator. So the oxygenator essentially allows oxygen to go to tethers, and basically you get it as one of the earliest rewards from your mission. Once you get the oxygenator from completing one of the missions called Planetfall, one of the earliest missions, I think it's in the first 5, you can just slide it onto the back of your habitat, or whatever you call it. And then you have a good supply of oxygen for your tether. Now, unlike its smaller, more expensive cousin, the oxygenator does not have to be connected to power. It just has to be on a platform and work. So as you can see here, I just have a tether over here, and also just a regular platform, and I can put the oxygenator down, and it'll supply oxygen to the tether. So that's basically what an oxygenator does. It also provides tether connection for your little Astroneer. It can be crafted using 1 aluminum and 1 ceramic. On to the next thing, tethers. So tethers are essentially essential in the early game. If you want to go out on mass expeditions, like maybe to find resources on the surface, or you're just looking for some bites in the caves. There's always a point in the game where you're gonna need tethers. Time to talk about the oxygenator's smaller, more expensive cousin, the portable oxygenator. Oh, almost forgot one thing. Tethers can be crafted using 1 compound. Now back to this little douchebag. This guy basically works as a regular oxygenator, but at a price. It draws 1 unit of power while active. On the bright side, you can turn it off, but only when you don't need oxygen. So while you have it on, you're always going to need some sort of power source. In this case, I have a QT-RTG. So yeah, you're always going to need at least 1 unit of power going straight to the portable oxygenator. And so if you turn it on, it produces oxygen. This is extremely useful for exploring large areas over long periods of time. While the portable oxygenator is going, you can have some sort of power source feeding it. But keep in mind that it constantly has to be feeding it. So if you use solar, it's gonna have to be daytime. If it's wind, it's gonna have to be while the wind is blowing. To be honest, they're not very competent. I would suggest some sort of generator because organic is found all over every single planet. Or maybe a QT-RTG, constantly feeding power to the portable oxygenator. But to be honest, I'm not a big fan of this one, which is why there's kind of a better alternative. Although this one is really good for like end game players who just want to explore, walk around the world, the usual. Now let me refer to an alternative, which is kind of somewhat better. Oh yeah, and almost forgot to mention. The portable oxygenator is made with 1 nanocarbon alloy, very expensive, which is why it's more of an endgame item. But moving on. The better alternative to the portable oxygenator is actually one of the snails, one of the snails, named Stilgar. He can be collected on Calidor. I'll actually be making an entirely separate videos explaining how to get every single snail. Basically a continuation of my snail update video. This little guy can actually produce oxygen for free as long as he's well fed in your backpack. And let me just showcase how this works right now. Basically, this is his power. Passively produces oxygen that fills tanks and tether networks. Favorite foods? Mutant Spiny Attackus seeds, or any of the 2 Attackus seeds. So you can get either of the 2 Attackus seeds, the one found on Calidor, which is the Spiny Attackus, or the one found on Aatrox, which is the volatile attack is. I recommend the spiny attack is, because this one is a lot more difficult to get. And it's on the most dangerous planet in the system. Oh, but yeah, you can feed any of these 2 seeds to Stilgar, and he'll produce oxygen for 30 minutes. Let's just try this really quick. Whoa, he actually got us a tether connection. Nice, so it should connect tethers. So yeah, we just fed him a volatile spiny attack seed. So he should produce oxygen for 30 minutes. You can feed him any seed, but specifically the Attackus seeds will give him 30 minutes. Any other seed will just give him 10. It'll just be a shorter time. So I recommend having this guy mostly probably in your backpack at all times so you can produce infinite oxygen. Just remember to have seeds on you. To be honest, I feel more biased towards this little guy because, first of all, it's cute as heck. He's cute as heck. I mean, he produces free oxygen, and in a very accessible way, and it's natural. You don't have to be feeding that supply power of a douchebag all the time. And, plus, it's more accessible in the early game. So, anyone can use it, as long as you have plant seeds on you. Really quick, I want to talk about the oxygen tank. So essentially, while in your backpack, it increases your oxygen capacity. As you can see, right now I want to talk about oxygen capacity. So you have your main oxygen tank, like the main oxygen tank. And as you see, on your backpack, we could just put away our backpack and it'll still visualize the decrease in our oxygen. But also it'll give certain oxygen or warning notifications, like when your oxygen is at half levels and also at 25%. But as you can see, if we reconnect to oxygen, it'll fill back up again. And if you have an oxygen tank, which purposely increases your capacity, that oxygen tank will also fill up. So, if we disconnect from tethers, it'll be first the oxygen tank that begins to lose oxygen. I don't know if you can tell, but it is losing oxygen. Yeah, see, as you can see here, it is slowly losing oxygen, the oxygen tank. So, basically, oxygen tanks are just an expansion of your main oxygen reserve. Using a lot of these can help you go on very long adventures. Now let's talk about probably the last I can think of oxygen supplier, which is oxygen filters. So basically, applying oxygen filters to your backpack will add basically here it says provides a temporary increase to your oxygen capacity. And this is true. If you put it in your backpack really quick, you can see that it instead is beginning to supply oxygen to our backpack, filling up our oxygen tank really quick. And then you'll see that it starts to decrease. See, one of the cylinders has gone missing. Actually, no, it's just disappeared, and that's how the oxygen is consumed. So yeah, slowly, oh, did you see that? Each cylinder will be consumed until it's at the oxygen part, which will be consumed. And then finally, the oxygen, oxygen filter will be done. So yeah, it's just a temporary increase. Oh, and I forgot to mention, the oxygen tank is made with 1 glass, and that the oxygen filter is made with 1 resin, very accessible. Just to clarify some things, yes, the shelter does produce oxygen, but you can't connect to tethers unless there's an oxygenator connected to the shelter. And there are only 2 places in the solar system that actually produce oxygen. I think you can guess which places those are. So the center of any planet while you're activating it and putting in the resources and you're locked in the weird cage thing. And then also the unidentified satellite that usually orbits around the sun when you've unlocked your first core of a planet. Those are the only 2 places in the entire solar system that produce oxygen. Oh, actually, there's one more. This specific abandoned, wreckage sort of thing, it produces oxygen, but it doesn't produce oxygen for tethers unless, again, you put an oxygenator or Stilgar or a portable oxygenator on it. So, yeah. That was this episode on oxygen. Really hope you guys enjoyed that episode of all things Astroneer. Quick recap. We talked about different oxygen sources, different oxygen capacity suppliers, different oxygen producers, and also different oxygen extensions. Really hope you guys enjoyed that video. If so, leave a like down below. Oh, and by the way, subscribe. It's completely free. You can always unsubscribe later. So yeah, okay, goodbye.